misty day in the capital city for Norway, but that's nothing unusual at this time of year. A little bit of a shame because the atmosphere and the weather yesterday was sensational for the men's 50-kilometre. For the women's 30, it's going to be a different ordeal, but the fans will be out in numbers and consuming large amounts of chocolate and hot chocolate, I should think, today, rather than the red wine and beer that was being glugged yesterday. It's always an interesting one, Mike, the women's 30, classic style, very different and much slower than we saw for the World Championship 30.
I think it will be. The World Championships was an incredibly fast course today, one of the highest climbs over the journey of 30 kilometres, and I would imagine it's going to be quite a tight race for most of the journey. At least 5-6 people able to stay with the leader's pace set.
Well, as we mentioned, yesterday was all about the men's 50-kilometre, and a chance now just to remind ourselves of what happened. Well, Martin Jonsrud Sundby back on top, but he didn't have it all his own way. A very quick start, 6 times round the 8.3-kilometre loop, but it wasn't long before Niskanen, who had come here with promising great things, he broke away, and Niskanen, by not changing his skis, got a 16-second lead over Sundby at a critical stage with 2 loops completed. Sundby, Mike, made the chase.
It's quite a big chase, Patrick, to pull that 18.9 seconds back in just those, well, 4 or 5 kilometres. He'd caught him by the time they're on the inner stadium loop.
And that really was the defining moment of the race, because it split the rest of the pack, who were all sitting on Sundby's shoulder. And then, of course, on the final lap, Sundby went early. He chose the steepest, most prolonged, sustained hill to do it.
And look at, well, Niskanen, he didn't even try going with it. I was really surprised at that moment that he didn't try. He knew it will be over if he didn't stay with them.
I think he might argue with you that he was trying 100% anyway. Sundby pretty much a spent force when he finished. He's now got 29 World Cup wins after his disappointment at the World Championships. He did medal, of course, but he didn't get that individual gold that he was desperately hunting for. To win the Holmenkollen 50 is some sort of consolation. Niskanen, 15-kilometre gold medal at the Championships and gets silver today. And then Besmetnik with a good finish, actually. He looked finished with about 4K to go, but somehow he found a second wind and managed to deny the Norwegians 2 podium positions.
And really that maybe makes up for Besmetnik. In the 15-kilometre at the World Champs, he came 4th, so got his 3rd position today.
Well, just a few minutes to go before the start of the women's 30-kilometre. This is a race that has been dominated by 2 women over the last, 5-6 seasons, maybe even more than that. Kowalczyk, of course, won the Olympic Games in 2010. No one other than Marit Bjørgen and Therese Johaug has won a 30-kilometre in the World Cup, at the World Championships or the Olympics since then. That is some domination. And of course, both Johaug and Bjørgen from Norway. Well, Lahti, of course, hosting the World Championships, Mike. After a very, very warm day for the relays, it was icy cold, rock-hard tracks and very fast conditions.
What a pace it was, the 30. They averaged 27.7 kilometres per hour. Very icy, hard track, making it easier. And, of course, the classic 10-kilometre as well, going to Bjørgen. The relay, well, once again, it was the domination of the Norwegians, just under a minute their victory this time around, and Bjørgen playing a large part in that performance as well.
And then, of course, the 30-kilometre, which finished it off. It was a procession for the Norwegians, and Marit Bjørgen.
It's more than I had a dream about, and it's a good atmosphere, good competition, and yeah, I had a very nice day here.
Well, they certainly were. 4 gold medals. You can't complain at that. She takes her total of World Championship golds up to 18. What a fabulous career she's had. And what's so remarkable, Mike, that her son is, what, 14, 15 months old?
It's incredible how to juggle and balance all of her lifestyle changes, being a mother, the responsibilities of that. But what amazed me at the World Championships, before the 10-kilometre Classic, she said, all I wanted to do was go home. The nerves, the responsibility, the pressure. It's strange, but that maybe gets the adrenaline going, gets the fear going, and keeps her sharp for the race.
Yeah. Well, you've been absent from home enough with kids around. You know that it's not just you. There are other people who play such an important role. And Fred Lundberg takes a certain amount of credit, and I'm sure they've got other helpers on hand. But take nothing away from Bjørgen. She was a sensation in Lahti. And we now look forward to seeing what she can do in Pyeongchang. Can Parmakoski do anything? Johaug will be back by then. It's going to be a fantastic season next year. Well, this is the scene for the women's 30 kilometres. The home fans have turned out in fantastic
Sadie,
numbers.
Before home and Cologne,
Yes, again, here's
always
Sadie
a highlight on the
Bjørnsen
calendar
from
for
USA.
the athletes. Are you excited? It's foggy day today, but still a good day for racing.
Yeah, I mean, a foggy day is a home and Cologne day. That's part of the atmosphere and part of the excitement. You just have to keep your eyes on the front so that people don't sneak away there at the beginning. So I think it's going to be a really fun day, and the skiing is really nice, and it's always a good vibe no matter what kind of weather it is out here, so I'm really excited.
And home and Cologne today, and then you must head back to North America pretty soon for the Quebec races?
Yeah, I head back tomorrow, which I'm really excited for. It's going to be nice to have English speaking all around me. That's always a plus, and to be at sort of home courses, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
All right, I wish you all the best today here in home and Cologne.
Thank you.
Well, I guess the Americans are a little like the Brits in that our linguistic skills are not world-renowned. So, yes, it's nice to be on the tracks and be able to talk to the people alongside you. But, Mike, most of these international skiers speak 1, 2, 3, even 4, 5 languages.
Yeah, no, they put the English speakers maybe to shame. And that's an interesting point, going back to North America for Sadie tomorrow. And then that different feel, the different vibe that you get there. And the different feeling as you're racing around the tracks.
Only 44 starters today, which is a very small field. Part of that is due to the fact that we're only 8 days on from the World Championship 30-kilometre. No one has ever won the 30-kilometre at the Worlds, and a week later gone and won the Holmen Kollen 30. So an opportunity for Bjørgen to break more records. She has actually won the Worlds and the Holmen Kollen 30 in the same year, but generally they're 2 weeks apart, not 8 days. And you have to feel a bit sorry for the men, Mike. They raced a 50 on Sunday and another one the next Saturday.
It's hard to believe, of course. Freestyle, classic, of course. Yesterday freestyle, last week in Lahti.
Well, it's quite nice to see that the Forlaufers are not international athletes by any stretch of the imagination. Just local club skiers out having a good time. What's the purpose of the Forlaufers?
Well, I think the idea is to make sure the tracks are pressed down so that they're skied in. And I think that's why we've got so many here, because there are 8 separate cut tracks in the early part of this race to make sure everything is pressed down. The night frost gathering possibly, or earlier this morning when the tracks were cut in, and just pressing them down for the athletes ready to start the race.
Well, as you can see, it's fairly misty here, but we'll try and get you all the weather conditions out on the course. They were promising temperatures around 0 degrees, which anyone who's done Classic knows that is the nightmare temperature, because it's very difficult to decide what to go on after yesterday's weather. I think we're likely to be on Clister, aren't we? The men were racing on Clister yesterday. The air temperature at 2.7. It will vary as they go up and down the hills, so I think there could be a few tricky moments. Let's have a look at the course profile. Remember, 3 times around the 8.3 plus 1 time round the 5-kilometre loop.
Look at this climbing, Patrick, all the way to 3 kilometres, couple of just 5-second recoveries, 8 seconds at best, and then the journey back to the stadium, huge recovery there, so you can push your pace to the top of the huge climb if you can stay with the fastest. And quite steep and undulating when they come back out of the stadium on the 8.3, and of course a separate 5-kilometre track at the end of the 3/8.
Well, let's cast our eye down the start list. Heidi Weng wearing The yellow bib as the overall World Cup leader leads the distance standings as well. Usberg 2, Palmakoski 3 in the distance standings, although Palmakoski ahead in the overall. Nice to see Justyna Kowalczyk. I thought she might sit this one out. She's actually done a 50-kilometre since the World Championship, so she's been busy, and she won that, so she's obviously feeling she's on good form for a classic race here. Be nice to see her doing a little better. And further down the order, Anna Svensson goes 35, Keegan Randall is here. Jess Diggins not racing today. I don't think there's any real surprise at that, but she will take part in the final week of the World Cup, which of course is next week.
Yeah, probably a good idea, Jess. She's in good form and preparing for the races next week in Quebec.
Well, Bjørgen's full of smiles. Palmakoski looks a little more nervous. Number 13 is Ragnhild Haga, 26-year-old Norwegian. Number 2, that's Usberg. Hasn't had a win so far this season, so unable to add to the 7 that she's got already. And there is Charlotte Kaller, one of the hot favourites, hoping to make up for her disappointment in the Worlds. The King is present, as he was yesterday. The winner gets to go up and have a few words with the King. I remember when Johaug was up there, she was kept occupied for 5 or 6 minutes having a chat and a laugh. Can't see that happening back in UK. So here we go with Marit Bjørgen, not wearing bib number 1. It's number 4 for her, but she'll be hoping that she can add to the 4 golds she took in the World Championships. This would be the perfect way to round off her season, and she's going to be mighty difficult to beat. She's won this race on 4 occasions.
Yeah, quite incredible. I think she's had a 2nd place at one time as well. Good to see Usberg to the left of Heidi there, back. She didn't race the 30 at the World Championships.
Weng, the only one to really challenge Bjørgen in the World Championship 30-kilometre. Can she get a win over Bjørgen? She's found it mighty difficult over the years. Weng with some 64 podium finishes, only 8 of those have been on the top step. Palmakoski trying to break the Norwegian hold on this race. Charlotte Kaller certainly on her best form. She's capable, but 10 kilometres generally her favoured distance.
She's had 4 times 4th position in this race here in Oslo. Surely this year she's on better form. She may put that right.
I thought Charlotte Kaller looked lighter, sharper, and even more aggressive than she was when she was winning Olympic gold back in 2010. Number 15, that's Elizabeth Stephen for the United States. Sadie Bjornsson, her teammate alongside her, wearing 14. And the King's Guard, the traditional fanfare before the start of the race. We'll hear it again at the prize giving.
And the flowers from Flores are handed over by Carson, sales manager.
So away they go. Not quite sure why we were hearing about the flower ceremony at this stage of the race. And with, what have we got? 5 rows heading out of the stadium. Quite important, Mike, to get yourself a decent position once you get onto the climb, because if you're stuck at the back, you can suddenly find yourself 200 metres off the pace of the leaders.
Yes, and it's harder work, isn't it? At the back already, there's a little bit of road blocking. At the front, you can run your own race. Certainly beneficial to be up that top 10, top 15 even.
Can you pick out Kowalczyk? Just looking for Kowalczyk. I expect to see her trying to move up, get on the heels of the favourites. Kowalczyk's wearing bib number 12. I can see 11, which is von Siebenthal of Switzerland, who's not had a bad season. Well, the first round, the first lap of the men's race was very, very sharp yesterday. Not sure we're going to see quite the same. Yeah, I'm just wondering. You know, Kowalczyk is a. I think she's there. I think she's in blue. There she is in the far one from the far side, wearing bib number 12. You can see her now. I thought her technique sticks out a mile, so I thought the fact that we hadn't spotted her,
that's
it
what
might
I was
well have been a DNS, but no, she is there.
And she's got her own team suit, not the Polish colours, her own private team suit. So I certainly got confused there, looking for the Polish suit. This is the big climb, initial big climb.
Yeah, and Kowalczyk making a move on the far side. She's come out of the tracks, ups the tempo. She wants to get onto the heels of Marit Bjørgen. Away she goes. That was a good move, and just in time from Kowalczyk. Had to work hard to get past Anne Kiloinen. And Marit Bjørgen's not going to hang around. Can she win today? Can she win by as much as Therese Johaug did last year, which was an unbelievable ski?
3:46?
3:46 the margin at the end of the day.
That's the biggest ever margin. That was an incredible performance last year. Sadly, one could think it's maybe a little tainted from what's happened later in the summer. But huge margin. In the past, I think going back as far as 2004, Šapalova winning by 1:14. Generally, the margin's not much bigger than 1 minute, the victories here. Or, in fact, obviously pushed to the line as an option as well, a number of times.
Well, Bjørgen setting the pace. Kala's gone with her. Palmakovsky is there. Veng already looking as though she's struggling to stay with the pace. And that's quite a big split. It's certainly considerably larger than we saw in the men's field at this stage of the race yesterday. Tracks aren't in quite as good condition, Mike. The warmer weather has done them a little bit of damage, and we don't have as many fans out on the course as we had yesterday.
It's a pity, that beautiful sunny weather from yesterday. Pity to lose it. Yes, not as many people. The bank here was
this
crowded.
particular bank was absolutely packed, 40 deep.
And of course the women not initially going as far up the climb as the men did. It's a very short turnaround out of the stadium, back down in towards the stadium.
Is there a case for running both races on the same day?
You would certainly get the spectators yesterday, what, 50,000, 55,000? Certainly fewer today. I don't know, they like to spread it out over the weekend. And of course with the jumping events on as well. Looks like Bjørgen's got a definite strategy here to really set a fast and firm pace from the word go.
Oh, well, that's something new.
Well, the World Championships, I mean, we still had, we'd never seen a 30 quite like it. There was still some 20 athletes there at 20 kilometers, unusual. She just couldn't get away, but already we've got that divide early in the race.
But I think you'd agree that was all to do with the conditions, and the harder, icier it is, the easier the slower skiers find it to stay with the top skiers. And the faster you go, the greater the slipstream effect, the greater the benefit you get from tucking in behind someone like Bjørgen.
Well, that's right, 27.7 kilometers an hour. That's the fastest pace for the 30 kilometer.
Yeah, your calculation must be a little different from mine. I had it at 26.5 with the men at 28.8.
All right, well, maybe my maths slipped up.
well, it's close enough. But anyone who's been on a treadmill knows that 26 Ks is mighty quick.
Good cornering there from Bjørgen, and this is a real savage pace early on.
Just looking at those paces, Mike, the women are covering almost 450 meters a minute. So track runners, that's pretty sharp.
It really is, and we mentioned there the wind factor, the headwind factor if you're leading. And Bjørgen did do a lot of the leading at the World Championships, as Sundby always does. So the strong athletes, they try to break the field. They've got to take that, I suppose, that extra punishment up front. And if they want to break early, and that's clearly Bjørgen's strategy today.
Yeah. I think she had so many tight finishes in Lahti. She'd be grateful for a little bit of space and a little bit of time between herself and number 2. And that 5-meter gap may not look like much, but at the top of the next climb, we could find Bjørgen 10, 15 meters clear. And then it's going to be one-way traffic after that. Palmakovsky's the lady in second place. Charlotte Kalla behind her. And if Kalla wants to go with Bjørgen, she's going to have to make a move, a step turn to the right. In fact, I said it was Palmakovsky. It's actually Kerttu Niskanen, who, of course, we saw Niskanen finishing second in the men's 50 yesterday.
Niskanen, well, she's had a third here, 2014, 2:25 off the lead time on that occasion, inspired by her brother.
Yeah, that's one talented family.
So this is a steep climb under the bridge, and initially, what, about 14%, levels off a little, then 21, 22% just over the rise.
This is where Sundby made his move yesterday. But at that stage, what had he done? 46 of the 50 kilometres.
Yeah, and there was me thinking, well, Niskanen had just stayed with them, and his brain was saying, stay with them. But at that distance, at that time of racing, runaway race already at nearly 7 minutes. Callas much better this year. There she is in 3rd place.
Heidi Weng getting trapped on the inside in the yellow bib. That's always a little bit of a danger of coming out of the tracks. Suddenly, you don't have any space. And Calla going into the herringbone considerably earlier than others. The bonus sprint for World Cup points, 15 for the first person across the line. Marit Bjørgen's going to pick those up. In terms of the World Cup, is it going to make a difference?
Well, it'll certainly bring Bjørgen the chance of maybe getting into that top 3. Of course, she missed a good number of races. There's possibilities. She'll certainly be looking to pick all those 15 points up. She's gone.
Yeah, 4.7. It's not 15 metres, it's 20 metres, and no one else is making the chase at the moment, but there's going to be a good fight for 2nd place at the moment. Slightly surprised Weng didn't try and make the move.
Usberg, I thought Usberg would be at the races today, but she's in about 10th position at the moment. Clearly not wanting to accept this early pace, sticking to her own race plans.
Yeah, a good time for this course is around 1:20, isn't it? Is an hour 20 a genuine endurance event in your mind?
Absolutely, an hour 20.
Well, I've always thought that anything over 2 hours, where you're really switching from your carbs energy supply to the fat. You know, you hit that, you generally hit the wall. The marathon, once you get to 2 hours, you start suffering. And in the men's 50, you just about get there, but not in the women's 30.
Yeah, 30. It's still the climb, over 1,000 meters climbing, so it's a big endurance, a huge amount of energy output.
Marit Bjørgen is away and clear already after only 10 minutes of racing. This is a very, very early break from Marit Bjørgen. She had a lot of close quarters racing in Lahti. She wanted none of the same here in Holmenkollen, and she's on her way, it seems, at the moment, to her 5th Holmenkollen title. That will put her into it. In fact, she's already in a league of her own, having won 4, but it does mean that Norway's success continues.
It's a brave strategy, and the form that Marit Bjørgen's on, I think we have to believe in her that this is decisive, and this is probably the outcome of the race at this early stage.
Yeah, I hope you've got a lot of info on Bjørgen, because we're going to be seeing a lot of her. Charlotte Kalla, number 5, is in 2nd place at the moment. It's going to be a really good race for 2nd and 3rd, so... OK, Marit Bjørgen's taken a lot of attention away as they work their way back up the top of Gratisbakken and then down into the stadium for the first time in this race. And I think those fans in the stadium are going to be slightly surprised that Bjørgen has done the damage already.
Not many could take this task on, and I think another motivator for Marit today, apart from her 5th victory in this race, she's going to, if she stays out front, pick up the 4 sets of 15-second bonus points, I should say, which gives her, if she wins the race, that'll give her 160 points. So she really has the ability to move, well, from 4th potentially into 3rd in the overall World Cup standings. She's got a plan.
Well, that's something that Palmakoski has to defend, but is Bjørgen really interested in 3rd? She's won the overall so many times that her focus this year was come back from having her son, recover, pick and choose her races, which essentially she's done. And what's this going to be? Win number 6 of the season, so she's been hugely successful. But her main focus was, of course, the World Championships.
Well, look at this. She was not being offered just one drink, but 3 of her coaches were prepared in case she missed the 1st or the 2nd. A 3rd was ready.
Yeah, that's a good spot for a drink stop. The pace not particularly high when they come up the Northug step and turn to the right along the back of the biathlon range. And now down in front of the home fans who are going to enjoy this. They have to brake to the right. Only when they've completed the 3 laps plus the 5-kilometre loop can they turn to the left and into the finish.
Well, that's the 5K loop done, so now it's all out on the 8.3 now. Bjørgen not deciding to turn right, and quite rightly, after just 5 kilometres, not picking up her one chance to change her skis today. same as all the rest of the athletes.
Where do you think it's likely to come?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I thought maybe at 20 kilometre for the final 10, a fresh pair of skis, psychologically a little break maybe, but she may well stick with these skis if they're working well.
And did you think the skis made a big difference yesterday? We had an interesting situation with Niskanen not bothering to change. Sundby did. It didn't take Sundby long to get that 16 seconds back, but I couldn't quite work out whether Sundby then had a ski advantage over Niskanen.
It didn't appear that way. Certainly later, up to 40 kilometres, 30 kilometres, Niskanen was beginning to slip a little more. The wax wasn't quite as positive, so he did decide to come in. And unusually, they had a conversation about it in the race. In the women's race, yeah, just one option to change skis. In the men's, they had 2 options yesterday.
Number 44 is Thea Kroken Murud, one of 15 Norwegians out of the 44 starters, so they got 34% of the field here today. And actually, if you look at the 5 big nations, Finland, Sweden, Russia, USA and Norway, they have 85% of the competitors. We do actually have 10 nations involved, which is a bit of a shame. It's not as good as usual. The Italians aren't here.
French aren't here. Well, the French didn't put a women's field, not even one athlete, into the 30-kilometre last weekend at the World Championships.
And do you think their biathlon success has something to do with that?
Yeah, talking to the teams, one of the team coaches, that seems to be the way. So they are developing good cross-country skiers, but they're all opting at age 14, 15, 16 to go down the biathlon path. More money, more prestige at the moment with the success of the French biathlon team. Well, the chasing group, they're not organising a change of lead themselves to try and close Bjørgen down. I think they all know how strong Marit Bjørgen is, and maybe it would be a futile effort.
Yeah, Kalle and Niskanen doing the work. Charlotte Kalle, she's had a good career. She hasn't had as many wins as you would have thought. 9 victories in the World Cup overall. Just added up. Marit Bjørgen's wins, of course, she's got 106 World Cup wins now, and the victories at the World Championships didn't count this season. Even considering that Justyna Kowalczyk has 50 World Cup wins, Bjørgen still has more wins than everyone else in the field put together.
Hey, I wonder how much longer she'll continue. Certainly to Pyeongchang, more Olympic silverware, with, you would say, without a doubt, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, it's her career, isn't it? And, you know, in the old days where you made next to no money, you retired young enough to start a new career. But Marit Bjørgen's doing exceptionally well for herself, massive endorsements. So she may just, rather than just cut it off after Pyeongchang, she may just wind it down and just do a few races here and there and still pick up the endorsements.
Yeah, well, she's going to be 37-year-old, next Monday, a week Monday. And the engine, maybe, will start slowing down, although Bjørn Dalen at 43 it hasn't.
I mean, it's a fantastic tempo that she's keeping at the moment. I don't think I've seen her looking quite so punchy on the classic races for a long time. She's still in the sort of form. Couple of slips, that will take it out, push the pulse rate up a little bit. Maybe possibly distracted by the skidoo alongside her. Technique is something that even the best have to think about all the time.
And I think a little similar to Sundby yesterday, so strong, so compact, and the technique is as smooth as you get throughout this whole field. And of course, technique really does matter when there's so much climbing today.
Pulse rate for number 6, which is Yulia Shikalova.
I'm surprised.
Pretty high at the moment.
Well, I was
you were thinking it should be higher?
I was thinking. I know we've got about a 20-second delay on that pulse reading. I would have thought you'd be up at 87 to 89, over 90% on this section.
Any big surprises in this? I was going to call it the chase group. They're not really chasing. It's the minor medal group, isn't it? Fighting for that bronze and silver medals.
It is. Kowalczyk's in there, that chasing pack, but I did notice she was slipping a couple of times. Maybe a ski change after this 8-kilometre lap would be beneficial. The only surprise, just noticing that Usberg is not in that chase pack. She's slightly detached. I thought she may have recovered after the rest that they gave her from the World Championships 30.
Now, those glasses would suit you, Mr. Dixon. I was just looking at
make you ski faster.
I was just looking at the race that Justyna Kowalczyk did, the Szklarska Pareba in Poland. It's a 50k classic style. She won it in 2:34. She had a lead of 11 minutes, so she's in pretty good shape.
I think so, and we saw that at the World Championships. Her 8th position in this race, the 30. The relay, this team sprint, she was exceptional. She was often handed over to 6 seconds behind. She was second leg. She'd pull all that 6 seconds back in her attack on the track. Her teammate would lose it again, and she would do the same the next time and the next time.
And do you think, you know, with Kowalczyk, okay, Poland's not a wealthy nation in terms of their cross-country and biathlon teams. Do you think Kowalczyk's done the right thing? You can just see in the middle of this group, number 12. Has she done the right thing creating her own team?
I think so, and there's a government fund there where for an exceptionally talented athlete, they did it for Małysz as well, creating his own team. It's government-led. So I think it's the best way, a private team, so she can organise her lifestyle a little better without the team stresses, I suppose. Look at Björgen. This is like a 10-kilometer race. Her tempo, her attack, but she is slipping.
Yeah, she's having to work hard to get the ski to grip, isn't it? You can see the compression. It's a really dynamic movement. Sometimes she flows just a little smoother than she is at the moment, but she's not hanging around. But if the skis get much worse, we may see her change next time she comes into the stadium. And I'm pretty sure that the Norwegian technicians will be watching the footage, just seeing whether, do we put a bit more wax on? Do we lengthen the stick wax area just to give her a little bit of help in the closing stages?
Of course, this profile, we've got about a 100-meter rise, so you've got about a degree temperature change, half a degree, 1 degree at worst. So the waxes are, that does make an influence on the grip ability of the ski in the stadium as opposed to the top of this climb.
Just looking to see the lead that Johaug had at the 8-kilometer stage last year. Johaug went through in 22:41. The rest of the field went through in 24:05. So a minute 20 at 8 kilometers, and Marit Björgen still only at 33. So that gives you some idea of just how impressive Johaug was last year. And her winning time, of course, 1:24:55. As Mike said, 3:45, 3:46 clear of the next best, which was Östberg, with Ann Kiloinen of Finland in 3rd place. Now, on no occasion have 3 Norwegians been on the podium in this race. It could happen today. Well, the mist is certainly getting a little bit worse here in Holmenkollen. Not bad enough to affect the jumping that's taken place already today as we look at Björgen going through the 8-kilometer stage. Last year, the time on the clock was 22:41, so she's inside the pace that Johaug set last year. And just to correct what I said before the break, the Norwegians haven't had the clean sweep in this race when it's been a classic race. They have done it in freestyle, I think, Mike.
They have twice, 2015 Oslo, this same race, Björgen, Johaug, Jakobsen, and then 2010 Björgen, Steyr and Johaug, so a couple of times.
Charlotte Kalla starting to get herself a little bit of breathing space ahead of Saarinen and Heidi Weng down in 4th at the moment. Niskanen 5, Kowalczyk. That's a dangerous gap between her and Charlotte Kalla. She needs to pick it up, get back in contact if she's going to compete for the medals come the end. Masako Ishida, good season she's had. 55 off the pace, but still in the top 15.
She's had a podium here in this race, Ishida, her best result, of course, 3rd. And that was 2009. A couple of 5th positions here as well for Ishida, so she really is the endurance or the distance athlete. Well, the spectators, they were certainly out in huge numbers for the men's race yesterday. Maybe it's a sunshine thing.
Well, a long, lonely ski, but as many Norwegians have said, and I'm trying to remember, I think it was Heidi Weng. Was it Heidi Weng, or it might have been Østberg at the World Championship saying in the relay. Oh no, it was Jakobsen after the relay said she was delighted she gave Bjørgen the opportunity to ski the, you know, her leg on her own. Which is what, of course, she does best, and it's when Bjørgen is best, not perhaps in the mass starts when they're all jostling for position. When she's out on her own, she can push herself like no one else.
Well, there seems to be a more serious pace change now from this second, or the first of the chase groups. But look at that, 35 seconds behind. That's a huge gap already. Charlotte Kalla looking sparky. Heidi Weng, now her, what, 31st race of the season. It's a lot of racing.
Now we'll get to see whether the Swedish technicians have done a good job, see if Kalla can hold on to that 10-metre advantage by the time she gets to the bottom of the climb. And it's a long recovery, but you need it when you've got 30 kilometres to ski. 20.7 now. That was considerably faster yesterday. There was one section of the course, did I say it right? Was it up to 56 kilometres an hour?
Yeah, a couple of them got over 60, 61, 62 kilometres an hour. Not quite as fast. Hopefully we'll see Bjørgen again. I love the way she tucks so deep down, elbows in front of knees. Well, those spectators, it's a lonely they only see them once every, what, 20 minutes, every 8 kilometers around the mountain here.
Which is why they bring plenty of food and drink.
Well, that's created a little gap and remained a gap from Kalla.
Well, she's got the time, she knows what the margin is, and with the work rate going in, she's thinking only 30 seconds. She may feel she deserves a little bit more than that, but masterful performance so far from Marit Bjørgen. Most of these guys camping out overnight. You can actually hire a tent for the occasion, so if you fancy coming to watch the Holmenkollen 50 or the 31 year, that is definitely the way to do it, like the locals do it.
Well, that particular campfire we saw, that's where we would get our little refreshments on our ski at the Biathlon World Champs last year, with so many tenting out. So Kalla really trying to create some pace change here and bringing the rest of the chase pack with her. The 89% there, is that Saarinen?
Yeah, Saarinen just tucking in behind her. She's had a good race so far, Saarinen.
She won this race back in 10 years ago, 2007. Koitunen was second, and she won then on that particular day in 1 hour 23:55.
Well, Marit Bjørgen's 37 next week. Saarinen 38, 39, 38 I think it is.
38, yeah.
Finished 14th at the World Championships. Looks as though she could do a little bit better today. So Bjørgen heads out of the stadium, and no change of the skis on this occasion, with 10 kilometres completed, and she'll just have a crafty little look to her right to see where the rest are, and the rest are going to be mighty depressed when they see Bjørgen heading out of the stadium. Next time round, Bjørgen will hope to be out of the stadium before the chasing group come in.
She probably will, and this is the chasing 7. What, 3 Finns in there, Justina Kowalczyk, in fact now deciding to take the lead. They just go out in the stadium now. Oh, Kowalczyk nearly tripping up there. Another 2.53 kilometers within the stadium grounds, and then an option to change skis. I think Kowalczyk may well take that option.
35 seconds last time we saw them at the top of the climb, and amazingly Marit Bjørgen has taken even more time. Another 9-second advantage built on the descent down to the... That's surprising, Mike. So she's obviously on a good pair of skis, no doubt about that. But those little climbs that you have on the way back to the stadium, there are plenty of opportunity to gain time there.
And Bjørgen, I think her upper body strength, her double poling, she's double poling further into each gentle rise, for example this one, than most of the rest of the pack.
Østberg, well, she looked tired at the World Championships. Disappointing results for her, to be honest. Best she got was 8th in the 10-kilometre.
Sadie Bjørnsen, that's a good double pole action, carrying it as far into the hill as possible.
Got herself a bronze medal in the team sprint. And the Americans did really well. 2 medals in the individual sprint. They got the bronze in the team sprint. No surprise to see Kowalczyk struggling with that corner. Plenty of the men had problems on that particular bend as well.
It's not as fast today. I noticed Kowalczyk, well, and also Bjørgen, when she approached that bend, nothing like it was yesterday. I think they've moved the bollard slightly further down the track.
Halfway between the traditional style and the moose step for Marit Bjørgen. She really is a powerhouse, immensely strong. And her career quite interesting, Mike, because in the early days she was the queen of sprinting, and as soon as she started to lose the domination in the sprints, her endurance came through. Yes, she can still win a sprint, but it's highly unlikely at the moment with people like Fowler and Nielsen around. But over the distance, that sprinting part of her career seems to be paying dividends.
I think so, and we saw that last week, of course. She was pressed, 4 athletes with her going into the stadium. She had the strength, she still had the best line around that final bend into the home 100 meters. It's so strong. Her upper body is so strong that at the end of an hour 15, an hour today, an hour 20 race, she still can match and beat anybody just with her arm power.
So what should a club skier be doing in terms of strength training compared to when you started your career and you'd go to the gym, what, once a month if you were lucky?
Well, I think we were quite lucky to be around the Swiss at the time, and Andy Grunefelder. So they were cutting edge, I suppose, to Swiss at the time with Guidon and Grunefelder, and they were doing 3 trips to the gym a week and heavy weights. No, I think strength is a huge part, and I do think 3 sessions a week above the age of 19, 20.
And for a club skier?
Club skier, a couple of sessions a week, I think is ideal if they're serious club racers. One, say, I mean, the strength you can build in the summer, a session of absolute strength, and then a session of strength endurance, so lighter weights, higher reps. But Bjørgen, and keeping it maintained all winter, if you're racing like Heidi Weng, 31 races so far, it's hard to keep that strength going because all you're doing is racing, and it's hard to build into the plan so much strength training. And Marit Bjørgen, taking all these breaks, you can continue with keeping the muscle mass.
Well, that was the first mistake she's made on the race so far today. A little stumble. That can certainly slow you down. 44, remember, as they came out of the stadium, has Bjørgen extended that lead. It's Charlotte Kalla back in front. Kowalczyk's done her little stint in the front. Heidi Weng just still gives me that impression that she's hanging on. She's the one in the yellow bib as the overall World Cup leader. Weng not really under threat in terms of her lead in the World Cup. What have we got? In the Distance World Cup, there's today's race, obviously, and then we've got 2 out in Quebec City, so only 3 races still to count, and Weng has a lead of 90-odd points over Usberg, and Parmakoski 140 points behind, so she's unlikely to lose that.
Well, I think in the stadium it was 45-second advantage, now it's 57, not much further down the track.
What about von Siebenthal? She's done well for Switzerland. She comes from Tullebach, which is quite close to Adelboden, just to the, if you go to the northeast end of Lake Geneva. It's just a few kilometres in from there, or up the hill from there.
Yeah, von Siebenthal, she's the real deal. She's got her classic skiing organised and the freestyle, 4th position at the World Champs Skiathlon. Well, that was another long recovery section for Bjørgen. Now she can attack up in towards the stadium again. It's just about, this rise is about only track length, about 240 meters from the low point till you start dropping down again into the stadium.
Getting back to the weight training, I know the Norwegians over the last few years have been very focused on the movements they do are all fast movements. There's no you know, slow pull-ups. Everything is explosive, just to try and mimic the action when you're actually skiing.
I think that's, when you look at the strength, the compression there through each compression of the wax onto the snow to get the grip, you need to have strong muscles, but you need reactive muscles as well, quick reactions. I was actually in the gym this morning doing reps of 100, explosive as I could, which wasn't very explosive at 7 in the morning. But the muscles react very quickly, and it is all this compression there. It's a very short initial compression, that double pole action, but she's so powerful, Marit Bjørgen.
Here come the rest, and we do have a thrilling race developing for second position. Justina Kowalczyk tends to lead on the steeper uphills, and then surrenders that lead when they come to a downhill, certainly loses it on the sharper corners. Charlotte Kalla looking good as well. She's been comfortable and responsible for pushing that group along. There you go, Marit B. Wonder who that belongs to. And if you wanted to buy that, well, you wouldn't be able to buy it, but I should think you'd probably have to, if it went to auction, you'd probably have to pay a few thousand for a pair of those.
I think you would, and I'll tell you what, they'd be worth buying. If you were a serious racer, they would last you if you only used them for racing.
Drink number 2 as they approach the halfway stage.
First person got it. And the deal now, the reason there's some backup there for those drinks, because you're not allowed to run as a coach anymore with your drink. FIS are deciding that they used to get tangled. We've seen it many times, tripping over racers, so they are only allowed to stand there static. And so many times in the 50-kilometer last Sunday at the World Championships, the athletes, the men's race, were missing their drink, traveling so fast. It is very difficult to grab that drink.
Marit Bjørgen deciding that the halfway stage is the place to change the skis, and with enough of a lead, there you see the chasers in the background. She's going to be away before anyone else comes in. Now, will someone think, right, this is a chance to get away? Do we think in terms of the Finns? Niskanen will have given a report to the Finnish women last night saying, don't bother, it didn't make any difference.
Well, I think there'll be a gain for those who don't change the skis this time, and I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2. They'll at least pull back 21 seconds.
But it's not about closing down on Marit Bjørgen because they're miles behind, but there could be a split in that chase group. Charlotte Kalla goes for a drink, as does von Siebenthal on the right of your screen, number 11. Make sure, that's absolutely crucial. Couple of gulps, what, 40 mils or so would probably be enough, but if you go short and you start to get dehydrated, your performance drops dramatically. So who's going straight on and who is going to take that sharp right-hand turn into the ski exchange? Charlotte Kalla goes for another loop on the skis. Kowalczyk's followed her, and is that Haag of Sweden who's gone through? We'll pick up on the numbers in a moment.
I think that's Kalla.
Well, Kalla's leading the group. Just thinking who's behind Kowalczyk.
Of course it is. It must be, of course, Haag, Anna Haag.
And von Siebenthal is going for another lap at least. It is Anna Haag. Heidi Weng is going to change. Well, we get to see it. Costs Sundby 16.6 seconds. I think the margin here could be a little bit bigger. 52 back to Kalla and 109, so not bad, 17 seconds.
Not bad. Saarinen skis there, they seem to be having iced a little. She almost tripped over herself as she was in the tracks. Østberg, her form has deserted her. There she is, just clipping into her skis. That's a huge margin at not even half distance to be over 130, nearly 140 behind or more.
Stadlober for Austria, but far and away the best Austrian skier, number 8, heading out. She's got Yulia Shikalova of Russia on her tail. Østberg wearing 2, just heading out of the stadium. I think she's out of the race as well in terms of getting into the top 5 positions today. But plenty of competition for second and third. Marit Bjørgen comfortably ahead, and she could well finish 2 minutes clear come the end of the day. Bjørgen approaching the halfway stage now. 35 is Anna Svensson, comes from Tromsø, the Paris of the North, as it's known. Ever been there? Tromsø?
I haven't, never been quite that far up. Nice place?
Don't know.
Thought you'd been there. Marit Bjørgen charging her way up to the high point of the course, having been through the stadium, having changed her skis, but not apparently losing much time. The field, or Kala, still 52 seconds behind. These wonderful camera shots, the Ski-Doo going alongside. Every coach will be watching this, making sure they've got a copy of this, and teaching their athletes how best to do these climbs in the classic technique. What's striking me today about Bjørgen, again, this upper body, she's still tempo-wise as if this is a 10-kilometer race. She really, really wants this victory. She really wants all these bonus 15 points, which she's gaining each time round.
Well, a good race from Anna Haag, who's in fourth, wearing 20. Von Siebenthal trying to get in touch. Heidi Weng making ground now, having changed the skis, and she looks much stronger now. A little bit more grip. The skis obviously gliding okay. That was obviously a good move for Heidi Weng.
It was, and look at this pack. So they've all changed their skis. The three up in front of them didn't. They've already absorbed that, what, 17, 20 seconds, which the athletes gained by not changing their skis.
Yeah, so it was a gamble. It was a gamble, and it doesn't look as though it's paid off. Although, of course, Kowalczyk can change a little bit later and have the good skis, as you suggested, for the last 10K rather than the last 20.
Yeah, it's a refreshing thought when you're beginning to tire, and then you pick up this wonderful new pair of faster skis. Lifts the spirit just a little.
Charlotte Kalla, originally from PTO, close to the Finnish border, and then now bases herself in Sundsvall, which is another of those towns that has what the Swedes call ski gymnasiums.
Yeah, the Swedes, biathlon and cross-country. Austria is copying that now with their ski gymnasiums, or there's, what do they call them in Austria? We saw them a couple of weeks ago. Ski academy.
Academy. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, isn't it? The theory is that you combine your academic education with your physical development, and I think in Sweden it's a third academic work, a third studying physiology and diet and everything to do with sport, and then a third of your time is given over to the actual training. And the idea being that when you finish your career, you can actually do something else.
It's a great idea. Yeah, they're giving them a rounded and a good qualification. So expensive though when you've got 5, 6 of these academies. They have to be paid for. They're very specialized, and the dropout is quite high as well. But the cream always come through. Most of the biathletes and cross-country skiers in Norway have come through that system.
Future champion, maybe? Looks too interested in the grub at the moment. Now, let's see what the margin is. Going through the stadium, Kalla and Kowalczyk were 52 behind. That was at 13.3. Now at 15.5. Don't think they've made much ground, but the gap, Mike, after the change in ski, Heidi Weng was 109 behind. So there was that 17-18 second margin between Kowalczyk and Kalla and the group that Heidi Weng is in. So once they get to the 15.5, we'll get to see exactly where they stand. Bjørgen is certainly pulling away and has gained at least 15 seconds. I think it's going to be closer to 25 seconds over Charlotte Kalla since they came through the stadium. Is that all new skis?
It's incredible. Look at this, 117. Kalla certainly picked up the pace. She had a look about 750 meters back and realized this change of ski pack were closing in. I think she's put the pace on, keeping them at bay.
Yeah, that's a 25-second gain by Bjørgen over the last 1.8 kilometers. Heidi Weng at 1:30, and Heidi Weng went through 13.3 at 1:09, so she's lost 21 seconds as well. But as we saw, Weng closing in slowly now on those two in the first of the chase packs. That's Kalla and, of course, Kowalczyk.
I was just about to say that for the first time, Marit Bjørgen's technique a little off, but she picked it up.
Is it inevitable she's going to take the win?
I think so. I think so. And these young ladies
I'm
will
trying to think what can go wrong, what has gone wrong in the past. This is where it comes back to, is it a real endurance event? Because they're not going to get to that stage where they hit the wall.
They do sometimes. We've seen Usberg, Weng go early, go with the pace early. I know it was a tough pace when Johaug, she's tried to live with Johaug, so that's maybe a different rebound. But the energy output, yeah, an hour 23, some will today, I think, hit a mini fatigue part. And of course, this race, the Hong Kong 50 and 30, always come at this stage of the year, and we often see in the men's race some of the big names really hitting the wall and dropping back by a huge margin. Peter Northug yesterday, I know he didn't maybe hit the wall, but 6 odd minutes behind. I'd be very happy for Kowalczyk if she managed a podium today. She has a couple of podiums here. Oslo 2013. That was in freestyle. She's not as good at freestyle anymore. She had the silver again in 2009 in the Classic. 2012 in the Classic. So 3 times second place in this race.
Yeah, I was just about to say, when did she last podium? But of course, it wasn't that long ago. She got her 50th World Cup win out in Pyeongchang at the pre-Olympic World Cup. That was a little bit of opportunism, I think, heading out there. Didn't win the sprint, got blown away in the sprint because of her poor downhill skills, and then absolutely toasted everyone on the first phase of the skiathlon, which we thought she might try and do in the World Championships, but it was a different field, different game.
Didn't work. But lovely that she got her 50th World Cup victory, and that's an incredible record as well.
Another 5 seconds going the way of Marit Bjørgen in the last 800 meters. Heidi Weng went through 15.5 in 1:30, and they've lost, what, another 6.8 seconds. So nothing has changed. Bjørgen just simply is traveling faster than everybody else.
Yeah, things that could go wrong for Bjørgen. Is there a chance she's fatigued? Unlikely. She looks so strong. 8 days ago at the World Championships over the same distance, barely out of breath as she crossed the line.
Well, to liven it up, Mike, I think we should have a little wager as what the final gap will be between Marit Bjørgen and whoever it is who finishes in second place. I guess you've got to bear in mind that once she gets to a minute and a half, 2 minutes clear, she might just ease up for the last loop.
That's what I was thinking, but I think on this projection, I was thinking she's going to take the victory by 2:30.
Well, I think I'll go for a 2:14 margin, and the loser buys lunch, I think.
It certainly won't be by the margin which Johaug won last time, a year ago. 3:46 ahead of second place in this race.
Kaller and Kowalczyk seem to have recovered a little. We thought they were going to get swallowed up, but they've actually done well, Mike. I thought on that downhill section with a little bit of rest, I thought that's where the skis might make a big difference, but it does seem, certainly with Heidi Weng, that the grip is better when you've got the new skis on.
It certainly looked that way for Weng. Will they glide as well? It'll be interesting seeing the glide factor here between Kaller and Kowalczyk. Well, there's Weng getting the wonderful grip on those new skis.
Yeah, von Siebenthal in the black suit for Switzerland. She's flying up that hill, so she's got very good grip. Keep an eye on her, see if she's got as good a glide. Sometimes to gain grip, you have to sacrifice glide.
Saarinen, I thought, looking very strong there. Of course, she won back in 2007. We mentioned that earlier. And controversially, she wasn't included in the 4x10 relay at the World Championships, 4x5 relay. And I reckon it had maybe part to do with publishing her book just before the World Championships, which didn't say too many positive things about some of her teammates and the team itself.
Well, team spirit's important in a relay event. I hope she made something from it.
Maybe she regretted not publishing it after the World Championships. So the glide, Kaller at the front, Kowalczyk tucked in. It's an easy, in terms of technical skiing, Patrick, there's not many. Yes, there's this little corner coming down here. It's a tight right-hander. We saw Kowalczyk stumble. There's not many other sections on this track which are too difficult in terms of speed and cornering.
With a new Holmenkollen jump in the background, she rounds the tricky right-hander, just steps round, not quite as relaxed as we saw Martin Jonsrud Sundby yesterday. He was immaculate rounding the corner, saved himself some energy certainly on that occasion. 18.3 kilometres gone and just under 12 to go for Marit Bjørgen. 50.39 on the clock. Just a reminder, last year the winning time 1:24.55. I think we're still just slightly ahead of that schedule. Bjørgen won in 1:20.55 back in 2014, and when she won in 2012, 1:26.09.
Must be a great feeling for Marit Bjørgen, getting all this support on her own. It's all directed to her. I think it's Niskanen, the chase pack, who's really turning the pace up, drawing themselves closer and closer to Kalla and Kowalczyk. So another, what, 2.75 kilometers before Kalla, Kowalczyk have the option to change skis, and I'm quite sure they'll take that option.
Yeah, they could do with a 17-second gap over the rest of the chasers, couldn't they, by the time they come through there? So they'll need to up the pace on this next little loop.
It's as if Kalla's doing the calculation. She saw how close they're getting. She's picking the pace up again. Kowalczyk's tempo in terms of double poling so much slower. And certainly the theory is that you have the fast compression at the beginning of the double poling rather than the big draw through.
Just in case you're looking out, we did get a couple of withdrawals, have had a couple of withdrawals. Rosie Brennan of the United States has pulled out, and Kiloinen of Finland has pulled out as well. And actually Sedova of Russia has not started. So that's 3 out of the field of 44. So we're down to 41 competitors, and with one out front, clearly out front, and the course for all the waving Norwegian flags. It's Marit Bjørgen, of course, who's looking for her 5th win here in the women's Holmenkollen 30. Welcome back to Oslo. This is the second of the chasing groups, led at the moment by Krista Palmer-Koski. Palmer-Koski, great World Championships, got the silver medal in the skiathlon. What a day that was. Kept the Finnish fans on the edge of their seats for what, a good hour and 20 minutes or so. This is not quite such a nail-biter.
Yes, it was only Palmer-Koski who managed to stick with Bjørgen for most of that chase. And then Bjørgen told Palmer-Koski to take the lead at 28 kilometers. She just slowed right down, take some lead, and that kind of changed the race. Palmer-Koski was so focused, stuck in behind. Maybe didn't change the outcome, but Bjørgen got a little breather and managed to refocus and obviously took the title.
Now, Palmer-Koski has done good work here. The margin was 7 seconds. It's still 7 seconds as they go through 19.2. So Kalla and Kowalczyk are holding their own. But if we assume correctly that Kowalczyk and Kalla are going to change skis when they come into the stadium next time, they're going to lose 15, 16 seconds to the likes of Palmer-Koski and Weng. And then they're playing catch-up at a crucial stage of the race. So again, it's a gamble, isn't it, Mike? You've got to work out exactly what advantage you get from changing the ski. Normally, a classic ski gets very, very slow if it's dirty snow.
And it's certainly wet snow here. We mentioned the pollution from the city. Don't often have a World Cup coming so close to a major city. So there is the snow is dirty, and it will affect the glide factor. But of course, Weng and the gang and the 3 Finns, they've only had 8.3 kilometers on their skis, so they won't be that slow yet. And I still think for Kalla, here she is, and Kowalczyk, they will feel good approaching the final 10Ks with fresh, brand new skis under their feet.
So your message to them would be make a quick change, but try and get 10 seconds clear at least before you come in.
Well, and I think that's why Call's trying. She's been given the times that the chase pack are closing down, but I'm afraid the chase pack are going to basically catch them before the ski change.
Yeah, and Call's starting to slip, so I think you're absolutely right. I think it would be a bad mistake not to change. Palmer-Koski, on the other hand, stays in the tracks, dances away up the climb. Heidi Weng, a little bit of a herringbone, but she tends to go into herringbone earlier than many. Strength is not really Heidi Weng's strong point. She's got a fabulous engine, but she doesn't have the power that Bjørgen has.
No, and that was the case with Johaug as well. This looks like Kowalczuk's back up, just making sure the skis aren't icing. Certainly ready for a pit stop. Now then, what does Kalla and Kowalczuk do? They're going to come out some 10 seconds behind their chasing pack. They're going to have to close that down very quickly. I'm sure that will be their strategy.
You're slightly surprised to see him. Surely the wax shouldn't have made any contact with the snow at this stage. The natural camber of the ski keeps the wax section off the snow, and really the important thing is that the wax has got down to snow temperature.
Yeah, I mean, generally, and of course, the upper layer would have been ironed on to make it as smooth as possible. Maybe must just be making sure it's not icing, because remember, Saarinen almost tripped over herself. It's unlikely that there's ice today in these, or that the actual cluster catches the snow crystals for them to ice up, but well, he's trying to keep them moving. Meanwhile, the battle, her own battle at the front, Bjørgen, now she's not backing off at all. This intensity's been the same as in her first 2 kilometers.
Well, 154 already. It's looking like your prediction of 230. Even that might be a little bit too little.
Lunch.
Burgers for lunch.
Steak for lunch. Drink again. So she took a drink at 5, and then of course at 13.
Yeah, normally just 1 swig, 2 on this occasion, just to make sure, and now needs to settle in for the remainder of the race. Just over 20 minutes or so to go for Marit Bjørgen. You can see some of those trailing up on the hill behind. They're way off the pace being set by Marit Bjørgen. No need to change skis at this stage. In fact, she can't. She's already changed hers once. The men can change them twice in the 30K. Quite a few not changing first time round, Mike.
Yeah, there's a few. So we've got Kalla, we've got Kowalczuk, and the big names. Kiloinen, maybe she's got a change to go as well. I didn't quite see which number that was.
8.4 to go, and if the first 8.4 kilometres are anything to go by, we're looking at around 22 minutes 45 to 23 minutes for that sort of distance. But she's now in a position where she can ease up. She knows she's got this one in the bag.
Oh well, bad news now for Kalla and Kowalczuk. They've been caught. So they've got a lot of work to do to catch, if they change their skis, to catch this pack again for that silver and bronze position, podium position.
But then Weng and Palmer-Koski are in exactly the same position that Kalla has been on this loop. You know, simply they're going to have to do 2 laps on 1 pair of skis. It's just that Kalla is doing the final lap on her good skis. So maybe that's a critical time to have a nice, fast, good gripping pair of skis. We'll see. Very
much. Palmer-Koski, now she's up to... I've never seen an athlete who can handle so much high end. We saw that at the World Champs. She was over 93, over 95% of her maximum heartbeat. And that's punishing.
How does that work? Do they submit their maximum heartbeat? Once it gets up to 102, we know they're lying.
Maybe they're finding their highest heartbeat today. Yes, submitting their absolute maximum pulse, and then the polar, the graphics we're getting are a percentage of the maximum. And you can live on maximum. You can take your pulse up in cross-country skiing, like mountain biking. You can tolerate those high lactics on the climbs, and then you get the recoveries on the downhills.
We'll keep a careful eye. Will Kalla go right? No, she has not.
I don't believe it.
Well, that's very interesting. Kowalczuk doesn't want to lose contact with the group either. With 8,400 metres to go, the skis stay there, and the technicians may be in despair at that decision. But I'm sure there were some conversations out on the track somewhere where we haven't seen them. Coaches suggesting that they carry on. And they know better than we do, but we'll see what sort of a price they pay over the last 8K.
Well, that's Kala and Kowalczyk at the back now already of the chasing, or the new chasing pack. Interesting. I suppose the way they're feeling, the body language, Kala and Kowalczyk at the back, they maybe thought, well, we can't possibly pull back 17, 20 seconds.
Well, we're going to see, because with von Siebenthal coming in to change, we'll track her progress. She's 2:10. She's some 13, 14 seconds off the pace of the likes of Saarinen and Niskanen. And we'll see if she can pull back a little bit of time in the closing stages. 2:44, her margin going through 21.6. So a lot of work to do. But von Siebenthal, I think, wisely deciding a fresh pair of skis would help. Stephanie Böller, haven't seen too much of the Germans today. Theresa Eichhorn also racing. She's wearing 34, a little bit further back in the group. 17 coming through. That's Harsim. Finished 4th in Drammen earlier this week in the sprint event there. And, of course, was 12th in this event last year. Well, only 5 of the leading 7 have changed skis. Kala and Kowalczyk, certainly the odd ones out. Number 4 heading for number 1 today. Marit Bjørgen, unmatched, and certainly not as thrilling as yesterday's race. The battle between Sundby and Niskanen that pretty much went to the very end. Only 9 seconds between them after the 50 kilometres. The intriguing part of this race, Mike, is certainly the battle for 2nd and 3rd place. Nice to see that Kala's got to the front of that group again. She's quick on the uphills, but I think Kala and Kowalczyk are struggling on the downhills with skis that have gone the full 23 kilometres.
Oh, quite amazing. They will be the skis that'll cover all 30, and you would expect them to slow down just a little. Kala, surprisingly, I was going to say, has grip, but as soon as it's getting steeper, she's slipping. Frustrating.
Heidi Weng, most top skiers, Mike, look about 6'6" when they stand on a pair of skis because they're so relaxed. Heidi Weng doesn't give that impression.
Look at the shoulders so far forward, and that's taking weight. If you're more direct up, you've got more direct compression through the ski. It's a sign of fatigue as well, but yes, she does hunch over quite a lot. Parmakoski, the small figure closest to us, 3.
Yeah, the temptation often is to do more work with the arms on the steep uphills, but the more you do with the poles, the less weight you can put down through the ski, therefore the less grip you get. So the power in the pole wants to be in the latter phase, so you're driving backwards rather than up.
And also reaching forward, as you say, when you press those poles and you're reaching forward, it's taking 25, 30 kilos off your weight from your skis. If they're angling back, you're still catching a lot of your weight through the ski at this stage in the race where you want to make that clister grip. Meanwhile, the Marit train just trundles on, no problem.
I'm relieved to say she looks to be easing up a little.
Come on, keep the pace, Marit.
We'll update you on her progress very shortly. We'll get a split at 24.8. Bjørgen has gone through 23.8, 106.24.
I'm just thinking, Kala, she was in the hunt at the World Championship. She fell at 6 kilometres, nipped her edge of her skis. Well, certainly hit the side of her ski poles, and then her ski pole just snapped at 28.5 kilometre.
Yeah, that was desperately unlucky.
Put her out of the chase for the medals.
Well, those who've fallen out of that chase group, von Siebenthal of Switzerland has now lost touch. She's changed skis, so there is a chance she'll get back into it, but she's now some 20 seconds behind. Anna Haag of Sweden has dropped off the pace. She was, last time we saw her at 20k, she was 2:22 behind, and that chasing group running roughly 155, 156. Mononen of Finland has gone. Stephanie Böller we did see. She's down in 12th, 2:39. And so really, the chase for 2nd and 3rd position between Saarinen, Niskanen, Weng, Parmakoski, Kowalczyk and Charlotte Kalla of Sweden.
Dedicated spectators, they love this sport. They know exactly how much energy, how much effort it takes to attack these hills.
Well, that's good power, isn't it? Out of the track for the uphill. Explain how that works, Mike.
Well, she was losing her grip, so that the fresher snow, the less compressed snow in the middle, you get better grip on that. Quickly back into the tracks when the gradient became less.
Yeah, the more people ski on the track, the more it compresses it, especially when it's wet like this. It compresses it, it gets glazed, it gets icy. And then you come out of the tracks just to find that rougher, fresher snow.
2:12, what was your time? 2:15 at the end?
2:15, I thought the margin might be at the end, but
steak.
It's looking horribly like 2:30.
Will Marit, there's another 15 points she'll pick up on her World Cup total score. It is money if she gets up into third or second place by the end of the season. Well, not much left of the race, just under 25 kilometers achieved in the 30k race.
Now, I think Marit Bjørgen, the only record she doesn't have in the Holmenkollen is the number of podiums, because Therese Johaug has 7 and Marit Bjørgen at the moment has 6. 4 of those are wins, but today she's going to make it her 5th win and her 7th podium here in Holmenkollen, and she's going to become the first woman to win the Holmenkollen 30 a week after the World Championships.
And she went so early, 2 minutes into the race, she had already made a break. So, I mean, that's a game plan on. She was going to suffer the lead. She maybe thought some of these chasers would have been closer for a little longer. They just couldn't live with it.
Niskanen heading number 5, that's Charlotte Kalle. Kowalczyk on the right-hand side wearing 12, Palmakoski wearing 3, Heidi Weng is still there wearing the yellow bib, and at the back of that group, Saarinen of Finland with bib number 21, and the margin at the moment 2:12. Østberg now 2:41, so she's dropped off. Von Siebenthal 2:55, so since she changed skis, Von Siebenthal's lost another 30 seconds, so that doesn't seem to have helped. Well, actually, that takes into account the time taken to change the ski.
Kowalczyk, the strength of Kowalczyk, that long stride that she has, she seems to be gripping well. Marit just running her way up the hill effectively, gets good weight down each time on the skis to get the grip.
Well, at the World Championships, she'd already finished 1:08, the winning time at the Worlds, but it was freestyle and it was nice, firm, you could say icy conditions.
It really was fast, and she just couldn't break the field that day because she was mostly at the front, which obviously takes that headwind.
24.6, 5.4 to go, and it looks as though there's an amount of urgency in Kerttu Niskanen's style. She's just trying to split this group up. Kalle's not going to let them go. Is Heidi Weng still hanging on? Yes, she is, just at the back of that group of 5, and still losing time to Bjørgen.
And of course, in relations to Bjørgen's pace now, Bjørgen's got that incredibly safe cushion of time. The others at the chase pack are now going to have to pick their pace up with 5 to go, because whichever one of those 2 out of 7 want the podium, they're going to have to try and make a break.
Well, I think she's about as good as she's ever been.
Yeah, she's doing nothing wrong. The only thing, as you mentioned earlier, her sprinting isn't quite as it used to be, but I think she could turn that around if she really wanted to, by just doing specific short speed work and those reps of 1 kilometer, 1.5.
But for Pyeongchang, likely to focus on the skiathlon again, 10k and 30.
Yeah.
Repeat performance of Lahti. Well, what's so amazing is that she made a break at around 2.5 kilometers, just piled the pressure on in the early stages of this race, and it was just as she climbed out of the stadium for the second time that Bjørgen broke clear, and every time she goes round, she sees the chasing group further and further behind. Now, this is an interesting situation. Kowalczyk trying to push it. Kalle hanging on in there. Von Siebenthal not able to stay with this group. That was a shame. I thought she looked good last time we came through this particular part of the course.
Well, of course, I said 7. Of course, Von Siebenthal now with that ski change out of it. So it's the chasing 6.
Yes, Saarinen still at the back of the group, as you can see. Bonus points, 60 more going to Marit Bjørgen, so that'll be 160 points that she picks up today. And in terms of the Distance World Cup, I think she's going to go ahead of Krista Palmakoski unless Palmakoski can get herself into second place.
Into the stadium, out of the stadium for the final time, back into the hills, and then next time in it's the finish line.
One sharp turn. Now, last time she went round this particular section, she was just exiting the stadium as the chasers came in. I think she's not going to see them this time round. Is that a little smile on her face?
It is. She's beginning to relax.
Yeah, I think she's enjoying it.
3.4 kilometers to go.
Technique still immaculate. There's still plenty of power in that upper body. Do you think she's better at classic or freestyle?
Do you know, she's one of these athletes rare that it's very much the same, isn't it? She'll win her 10 kilometers, she'll win her 30 classic. I think the field, the rest of the field proportionally are better freestyle in relation to her. She can't get quite as far away. She wouldn't be winning this by 2 minutes if it were freestyle.
And it's generally accepted that the classic style is more of a test on the heart and lungs, on the cardiovascular system, and therefore you would expect that Bjørgen would pull further ahead in a classic race.
Yeah, and the strength of her technique, the strength of her body. There's Palmakoski functioning in the top 5% of her ability, and has been for a long time. Remember, we used to see Lukas Bauer never really taking it further than 93%, even when he was winning the Tour de Ski of his maximum heartbeat. So where's the glide? Who's going to win on the glide back down into the stadium? Palmakoski at the back, just trying to relax her legs.
Yeah, she's been shaking the legs out, like we often see Petter Northug shaking out the arms before a big effort. I think Palmakoski just trying to loosen them up a little, but very difficult to pick your winner out of this particular group, Mike. Then for the first time coming to the front, we've had Kerttu Niskanen doing a lot of the work over the last 5K. Charlotte Kalla wisely just sitting in behind her. Kalla, of course, in the all-white, the Swedish colours. The Finns, if they group together and work as a team, could do some damage. Kowalczyk, not convinced she's on the best pair of skis. Now, this is a tricky section for Kowalczyk. She won't enjoy this corner, and she doesn't really want to be on the inside. And you wouldn't want to be on the outside of Kowalczyk on that hairpin bend. Well, that's a shame. Just when we needed to see, because you can read quite a lot into the body language on a sharp corner, and they've done it. So we gain nothing from it, but you can see that Kowalczyk's come out of it worst.
Well, she has, yep. Those that cornering ability, just little steps, little bit of timing. Von Siebenthal, she's just too far away for this final 3.4 kilometers.
26.6 and 3,400 meters. We're looking at around 9 minutes, I think, at the pace they're skiing at the moment, maybe a little under.
And I think we could expect in that chasing 6, we'd expect maybe an early break coming up fairly soon to clear some distance. And I think Kalla, if her wax is still working, has probably the strongest chance in that group for second place. As long as she doesn't break a pole like 8 days ago at the World Championships. What a feeling for Marit Bjørgen, and a lonely race out there for an hour 17, all on her lonesome, but still pushing on. It's fantastic skiing. She still isn't slowing down at all yet, driving the ski through as far up the hill as possible.
She's going to be about a kilometre clear of the rest of the field when she comes across the line. And over a 30-kilometre race, that's a very, very high percentage indeed. So 3 Finns in this group, and you can see Palmakoski on the left wearing 3. Really good race for Saarinen. Now, the bib number effectively giving you an idea of their ranking in the Distance World Cup. So Saarinen's done exceptionally well. Kowalczyk ranked 12, hasn't raced that much this year. She's been on a 3-year comeback, really, Kowalczyk, hasn't she? It's been a hard comeback, and I was wondering whether she was going to continue after a sort of relative failure at the Worlds.
And I think she built some confidence going to Pyeongchang, getting her 50th. That's a nice number of victories. And you mentioned her marathon racing. That's going well. She'll certainly be around for the Olympics.
Yeah, I think that might be her swan song, and she's very, very effective over the classic races, and the 30K at the Olympics will be a classic race, so that might be her opportunity. She's not going to do anything in the 10-kilometre freestyle. What about the skiathlon?
Skiathlon, her freestyle, I'm afraid, it's lacking these days. There's so much rotation in her upper body, and not as effective as she used to be when, well, she's won this race in the freestyle in the past.
So the margin now at 2:19, and that's good news for me because the margin was 2:23. So slowly they're pulling back.
You'll have to remember that we said projection on this pace, so Marit is slowing down.
1.22 to go, and she'll know these tracks as well as any other in the world. The Norwegian nationals do they tend, I know they have held them here in Holmenkollen, but often they go to far afield just to share out the spectacle.
They do, and they already hold some championships, but of course the long distance races come at the end of the season.
Well, Marit Bjørgen is going to have a relatively easy race compared to those in the group behind her, because the pace is hotting up, and it's Saarinen who's doing the damage. Looks as though she's starting to split that chase group. Palmakoski is suffering. Heidi Weng is suffering as well, still in touch, but having to work desperately hard to stay with it. Charlotte Kalla still well positioned. She's been right on the tail of Saarinen for the last, 7-8 kilometres. It's been intelligent skiing from the Swede.
And there's one athlete, I said von Siebenthal, coming in towards this group. It's not von Siebenthal, it's Østberg. She's finding some energy in the latter part of her races, but still detached by, I think, over 20 seconds.
Yeah, Østberg she was 16 behind, going through 26.6, and Østberg yet to go. In fact, she's just gone through 28.5, and she's taken that to 15, so she's gaining, but very, very slowly. It's going to have to be a monster effort from Østberg in the closing stages. We're going to see a little bit of a show, I think, from Marit Bjørgen. Just 800 metres or so to go. She's got a long downhill past the jump on her left-hand side, up the Northug step at the end of this straight, and then just 2 right-angled turns to the right before she comes into the finish. Why not celebrate early? It's been a solo race. It's been another unbelievable demonstration of how it should be done. Make the field hurt early. If you're confident that you can keep the pace going, Mike, many of her ability would have just stayed at the steady pace until halfway, at least maybe even through to the 25-kilometre stage before they turned it on.
Yeah, it's a real brave strategy, fearless strategy, and maybe just showing her supreme confidence that she could manage this, she wouldn't run out of energy, and it's just been a wonderful procession, like a 30K lap of honour for her great racing season.
She won in 2012, she won again in 2014, she won in 2015, and she's going to win again in 2017. It's going to be her 5th victory here. The Queen, the best female cross-country skier of all time. She racks up World Cup win number 107, and add that to the 4 golds that she's just claimed at the World Championships. The 36-year-old is showing no sign of slowing down. And actually, I think she's enjoyed her victories this year more than any other.
She's certainly more relaxed. Her life is more complete now after that 600-day break from racing. And she's complete. There's Calla making the move, making it early.
What's her son called? Marius, isn't it?
Marius.
Yeah, he won't quite appreciate what's going on yet, but he's going to have a lot of books to read about his mum when he gets a little bit older, and be nice to see him turn into a skier one day. Well, let's see whether Finland, Sweden, Norway can claim the second place. Saarinen is still there. It's Charlotte Kalla who rounds the top end first. Kowalczyk starting to struggle at the back. The double poling just not as effective as it used to be. Down the long straight. This is where you try and bring the pulse rate down 5 or 10 beats per minute for the last charge. Up the steep climb and then round the back of the biathlon range.
Oh.
Great skis. Is that Parmakoski on the move? It is Parmakoski.
Poor Charlotte Kalla, she had no chance there with the faster skiers from Niskanen, from Parmakoski, her left and right.
And of course you have a downhill run into the finish, so it's looking good for Sweden 1-2, but watch out for Heidi Weng. She's on the drive now. Heidi Weng on the inside of the turn. So important to be in touch as you come off this little flat and break down to your right. Finland 2, Finland 3 at the moment, and Weng hasn't quite made contact with bib number 9. That's Kerttu Niskanen. Saarinen, who did so much of the work, has now been blown away. Kowalczyk won't get into this one. It's going to be Parmakoski who takes second place unless she makes a mistake over the last little bridge. No chance of that happening. What a great run from Parmakoski. Silver in the World Skiathlon. She's taking silver in the Holmenkollen event. Third place not quite decided, but digging deep is Niskanen.
Niskanen really fighting. She needs to fight well. No, Heidi Weng now just a little too far back, and Parmakoski on 99% of her maximum with 100 meters to go. That's a great achievement.
And Finland, all the work they did for their home World Championships paying off today. They get second and third, and Marit Bjørgen and Heidi Weng for Norway 1 and 4. Charlotte Kalla will be bitterly disappointed, but what a race that group have had. Really enjoying it. Parmakoski, fantastic finisher. She's getting a reputation as a fighter, Mike, because with 5K to go, you certainly wouldn't have backed her to get second place.
Incredible. Poor old Charlotte Kalla did everything right. Her skis just didn't help her in that final stage. Maybe she should have changed.
Already they're discussing the race. Charlotte Kalla, it would be interesting to hear from her as to whether she thought it was a mistake not to change skis. I'm convinced it was. You know, she was strongest on the uphills, Mike, but losing all the gains she gained was being thrown away on the downhill.
Such a pity.
Well, look at that, 107 wins. Where will she stop? Only 285 races, and she's been on the podium 172 times. Better stats than anyone else in the world, now and past. So 36 years of age, and she's still as strong as she was at 24, 25, 26. When she sets her mind on something, Marit Bjørgen achieves it. Astonishing career she's had, and Marit Bjørgen, runaway winner here in Holmenkollen today. Well, there's biathlon to come there in Finland, in Kontiolahti, and 2 mixed relays to watch today. But we leave Oslo with the news that Marit Bjørgen is still the queen. She's got her 5th 30-kilometre win.